Hello, sister. So I'm really tired because today has been my first full day back to class since fall. I've been here since 9. It probably is 4 o'clock now. I really just want to go home and sleep, but I thought if I didn't make my video now, I wouldn't get it done. So I'm making it before I go home. Speaking of videos that didn't get made, I completely understand. I forgot to, and I felt like it was the weekend as well, because it kind of was, so no worries there. But I thought that since I've been struggling today with a lot of OCD problems, a lot of intrusive thought, and you forgot to make a video yesterday, that would be a good excuse for me to talk about something that those two things have in common, which is habit. Now, it's really hard, I think, for people to understand thought as habit. It's really easy for us to see physical things as habit. Like, we can see how making a video is something that becomes a habit. We can see how biting your nails is something that becomes a bad habit. But it's really hard for us to really accept, I think, or to emotionally accept that our thought are habit as well. And I think that's because the more we do something, the more we feel it's a part of our character. And there's nothing we do more, really, than think. Because we're so in our head and we're so constantly aware and we're constantly collecting data and assessing data and judging data and making this a part of ourselves and using it to kind of interact with our world. So thinking becomes something that we feel is really inherent to us. So when something's wrong with your thinking, it's really difficult and really emotionally kind of devastating because we feel like something's wrong with us. We aren't really able to put it into the idea of how we are practicing our disordered thinking. And that's really important because it's something that's really involved in disordered thinking, and especially with me with my OCD and probably you with problems with food. We want to think a certain way. We look at ourselves a certain way. We have things that are inherent to our character as people that are there, but we also have a brain. So it's that idea of the brain versus the mind. Our brain is the organ and our mind is kind of us as the person standing back and looking at things as they're going on. And our brain does things, whether we want it to or not. And one of those things is to throw out random thought. And we as the mind are the ones who look at that thought and judge it. And that part of our thinking, that part of our process of understanding data and taking it in and incorporating it, that's the part where it becomes habit. The way we respond to our thoughts and the way we respond to our brain is the thing that we get to choose. We don't get to choose our brain having thoughts. We don't get to choose the brain thought that come up. Like, they just happen. But we get to choose how we respond to them. And so that's where we form bad habits. And on the one hand, the negative to this is that bad habits are really hard to break, especially when it's something so emotionally taxing and emotionally tied up into us as people, because then we have to deal not only with actually breaking the habit, but coming to understand ourselves from a different point of view, and coming to understand ourselves as people both with the disordered thinking and people with the possibility of not having the disordered thinking, and not judging ourselves for not being that person quite yet, but also understanding we're not going to be this person forever if we work on it. And that's really hard. The plus side to this is that habits can be broken. And it means that you have what disordered thinking is always trying to tell us we don't have, which is a method of control. But it's not the kind of control where I have to control and suppress my thoughts. It's the idea of, okay, I'm having these thoughts, but I get to have the control over how I respond to it. And in having that control, we get to learn to become okay with our brain just having thoughts. You know, they don't mean anything. They're just noise. And that's really hard. Believe me, I totally understand anybody who has disordered thinking and you're just sitting there and you go like, I don't know how to break this habit. It doesn't feel like a habit. It just feels so overwhelming. Yeah, I get it. I completely get it. And it's upsetting, it's irritating, anxiety-inducing, it's fear-inducing, and it's really just annoying. But it's also something that if you work on it, it can be relieved. I've been noticing that while I'm still having OCD thoughts and I'm still having problems, the more I meditate, the more space comes between me having that initial thought and me responding to it. So I have that ability to step back and go, here's the thought. How am I going to respond to it? Do I put myself into that negative cycle of neutralizing and obsessing? Or do I let myself have the thought, kind of go, whatever, and move on? And the more I put into practice that letting it go and letting it just be what it is and not feeling like I have to respond to it, the more relief I find and the more I feel like I'm getting somewhere. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to have days that are really bad. Yeah, I do have days like that. But it means that I'm able to feel like I'm getting somewhere and I'm progressing, and that's also really important into the healing process, I think. Anyways, I'm really worried about my battery running out, and I'm also really worried that I'm running out of space, so I'm going to go. I feel like I didn't quite cover everything I wanted to talk about in terms of this, but eventually in another video I probably will. I hope you're having a really good day. I love you so much. I can't wait to see your video tomorrow. And I will talk to you later. Bye.